Don't try to sneak into your room like that. I know what you've got behind your back. Records. More new records.
All right, we're back at Furnace Record Pressing. If you recall, we were here last year in the dead of winter, and Eric Astor, who runs this place, was just setting up. They had taken over this facility, and by the time we got here, they had installed much of the infrastructure needed to operate a record pressing plant, a big one. And they had also planned on moving their packaging business, which already existed. And so let's see the progress they've made over the last year.
Hi, I'm Eric.
It was good?
With Furnace, yeah. I went for the VPI 40th, so.
How was that? Sound good?
Cake, drinks, Matt, Harry, all the good stuff. Why don't we start in the back? Because my guy Mark Ryder, who is in charge of the warehouse and oversees the pressing operation, is back
Boy, it
here.
certainly doesn't look like it did the last time I was here.
Right?
Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll just go straight back and we'll start there. So we have 50,000 square feet. We have about 10,000 square feet. I'll show you this later, but that's just all dry goods storage for jackets, inserts, stickers, anything that the records go into. That's where all that stuff gets stored.
So have you moved your entire operation here now?
Yes, yep.
Wow.
We'll walk you through all the offices and everything, but yeah, everything is moved in. We're still doing a lot of construction, but we're about 90% done. But we are pressing records, so that's the big thing. We just got done with that bad boy. Holy crap, that was hard.
Yeah, people just really have to see this to understand what's involved.
Yeah, I wish everyone was here, but you could see the
Well, it's Sunday, so.
the effort that goes into it.
Yeah. What is this box?
So this is the Injustice for All box. This is packed up. So these are, we just finished it last week. So these are the remnants that will be sent out to
So that's a
wherever
full
they tell us.
Metallica catalog vinyl set.
It's the Injustice for All box set. Is the 25th anniversary. So, it's 4 LPs, a bunch of discs, a hardcover book, tour laminate, all kinds of goodies. And then it goes into that box that you saw over there. And then each one goes into a padded mailer. So either when it goes out into the mail stream or if it goes to the store, nothing gets damaged because, as you know, expensive box sets have to be perfect when they get there. So we helped develop this box that has a piece of foam in it, and it's got some bubble sheets on top and bottom. And then we shipped this across the country and asked them how did it go, and they said everything's great.
So this goes to consumers, direct to consumers, as well as to stores?
Yeah, we sent some directly to their fan club and whoever pre-ordered, and then the rest will go into their distributor for retail.
Can you talk about numbers? How many of these boxes?
Can't, but it was a lot, and it took us a long time. Yeah, tens of thousands. Let's just say it that way. And then on top of that, there was a 2 LP set, which was tens of thousands. So hundreds of thousands of records.
And people they still don't believe it. That's the best part about this whole thing. They just don't.
It's insanity. It's insanity. But this is our assembly area, which I'll kind of explain how that all works in just a second. But you can see how everything gets exploded from the vinyl to the jackets to the inserts, and then how everything kind of flows down.
So we're with some celebrities here today. So you have Meyer Shadi here, who has the audio salon in Santa Monica, California. Hello. He's a wheeler dealer. And this is Demetrius Baklavas, who makes Ypsilon Electronics. And this is Jacob Heilbrunn, who is a writer for the Absolute Sound. And so we're all here together looking at this fantastic pressing plant and vinyl assembly facility. We're seeing the reality of this, that some people still refuse to believe, but now believe it.
Yeah. So we still have some work to do, but you can see that it's starting to take shape. Is Mark Ryder back here? I'm here. Mark Ryder. He's our director of operations, production operations, manufacturing operations.
Hi there.
Hi, how you doing, Michael?
I'd shake your hand, but I kept
Understood. Hey,
Hi.
I'm Mark.
Nice to meet you. Meyer.
Meyer, good to meet you.
Demetrius.
Demetrius, good to meet
So, what's the status of your presses?
you. We're operational.
They are.
Yeah.
So 6 of our Tulux Alpha machines and 2 of our warm tone machines. And then we have a few machines that are about to go into service. So Mark, why don't you show us, should we maybe step into the utilities room and show them the monstrosity that starts
Sure.
before we get to pressing?
We'll start with steam.
Okay. We're all very good with hot air because we're writers.
All right, so this is our boiler room. This is our brand new Mura boiler. So right now, this machine is sufficient to provide high pressure steam to the plant as it exists right now. With every machine that's in there, this can provide enough steam for that. Over here, you can see this big empty space, and that is where boiler number 2 will go as we expand. Fingers crossed, as we expand.
When I look at this boiler and I compare it to the boilers I've seen at some older pressing plants, this is way more modern and it must be way more efficient.
It is infinitely more efficient. So a lot of pressing plants operate like a Scotch Marine boiler, which is a type of fire tube boiler. It takes a long time to power it up, to make steam from it. Traditionally, those boilers have what they call a large steam chest, meaning within the boiler itself, it's capable of holding a whole bunch of steam. This has almost no water relative to those boilers inside it, 90 gallons of water. But we can
Wow.
make steam here in 5 minutes.
So it's on demand almost.
It's steam on demand, and so that enables us to do a couple things. Startup in the morning for our plant is almost instantaneous. So we come in and fire the boiler. 5 minutes later, we're not at pressure yet, but we're making good, clean steam. And then at night, when we're not in production, we can power this boiler down, so we're not wasting gas and electric overnight, which is great.
Now, what's your background that you're doing this?
I've just worked here for a really long time, and when Eric decided that we were going to start pressing records, I just started learning as much as I possibly could.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's impressive. No pun intended.
I was really excited about that proposition.
But you don't have an engineering background?
I don't have an engineering background.
I love that.
I'm actually an English major.
A what?
An English major.
Oh, I love that even more.
That was a really long time ago, though. So I've been working at Furnace and doing, and I do have a computer background. Before I got here, I was in IT, and so at least logically, I have that sort of mind. I built.
And you love, you're a record lover, you're a vinyl?
I'm a huge record lover. After I leave you guys, I'm going to go to my moonlighting gig as a recording engineer at a studio right across the street.
Do you love this? I love this. This is such a great story. And I love the fact when I visited here last time, Eric has hired all of these Vietnamese refugees who came here, and they work doing a lot of other work. I think the whole story is really cool.
Yeah, and they're actually now learning how to run. They're going to learn how to run the presses and quality control records, and they care about Furnace. We're a big happy family. Most of them have been here between 8 and 10 years. So we treat them right. They treat us right, and they're eager to learn. And a lot of them have some sort of mechanical or engineering background from back in Vietnam. So the work translates pretty well.
And how did you find these people that work here?
Well, we actually were talking with a printer that did some of our local work for us, and I said, where do you find people to do this assembly work? And this is like 12, 13 years ago. And he turned us on to a temporary agency that just so happens was run by a Vietnamese gentleman, and we became one of their best clients. And over the year, we've hired people away from the temp agency, and now they have full-time benefits, the whole thing.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, so they are a key to our success for sure.
Yeah.
And then in addition to that, we've been, as Mark said, we don't have a traditional background in engineering, but we've hired people that do. So the gentleman that runs this room and makes sure that the boiler and the chiller and the HVAC and all that stuff is running. He was in the Marines, right, or
Navy.
Navy.
Yep.
He worked on big ships, and he ran or helped run the department at National Airport. So heating and cooling millions of square feet. So this is a smaller project, but he's been able to help us get further faster. And then we have a gentleman named Mark Huggett who's been
Well, we all know Mark from
he's been around the vinyl world for some time, and really focusing on quality. So obviously when the opportunity to bring him on came, it was obviously a no-brainer, and he's been wonderful to work with, and has all the tips and tricks and all the secret sauce that he knows how to make a good record.
Mark originally came from Wakefield Press in Arizona. Decades ago.
Where I grew up,
Right.
my first record label, I pressed at Wakefield and Superior, which we had 2 pressing plants in Phoenix.
Yeah, you don't look old enough.
Well, I'm 46. I started young, but so it's funny. I ran into someone recently that worked at Superior. I said, hey, I press records with you guys. So, oh, this is awful. Of course. Sorry about that. But So Mark and I have crossed paths over the years, not knowing each other, but obviously we know his work at Wakefield and Classic and QRP. So we've got good people here.
All right, so let's keep moving.
Okay, so feed water tank for the boiler, condensate return. I don't know how deep in the weeds you want me to go, but
As deep as you want to go. I find that the people that watch these videos really enjoy seeing all of this stuff. It's
okay. So so with the Mura boiler, something that it doesn't do as efficiently as a Scotch Marine boiler, something that it's called turn down ratio. So the turn down ratio is basically how does the boiler react to a lesser load. So we've actually engineered with Mark Huggett's help the system. This is a pressure reducing valve up here. So when we're running a lighter load, let's say on a Saturday shift, if we're only running 4 or 6 presses, the boiler can still react appropriately, keep itself up to pressure, and still provide good steam with a lesser load. When without this boiler would not be particularly good at that, but this is the workaround.
So it's adapted to do the
Exactly.
proper function. Okay,
Yep.
cool.
And then we can bypass the PRV when we're just running, nuts out.
And then all the steam obviously goes into the presses, and as it comes back out, it turns from vapor into water. And I believe it's that tank right there.
Yeah, so the feed water tank, it also goes under, there's a lot of different names for it. People call it a sparging tank, a condensate return tank. So in record pressing, you're not using all the steam that goes into the die. So it's going to send a lot of that back out essentially as steam, and it's going to flash back to water in this tank, right? So, and that's what this is for.
So all this had to be done in the pre-computer era, in the 50s and 60s. It must have been much more difficult to do it then than now, in some ways.
As my understanding goes, so a lot more things were actually heated with steam back then. So, steam loops in cities heating buildings with steam.
Right.
Even in some meaningful way on ships,
Sure,
turbines are still driven with steam, but they were all driven with steam back then.
Yeah.
So, I think the grasp that people had on steam as a technology was more prevalent back then.
Right,
than
but it's
it
probably a
is
lot
now.
more man-hour related than machine related in terms of keeping all of this operational. So,
and infinitely more dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, people used to get
Yeah.
burnt. Okay, so let's keep moving.
All right.
It's so great to see this compared to the last time where things were like in the dream state in a lot of ways.
So this is the water room. So there are really technically 3 systems at work in this room. This contraption, because the boiler hardly holds any water at all, and because of the efficient nature that the way that it runs, it needs zero hardness. So this is basically just a water softening system. If city water went in there, it would scale the boiler very, very quickly.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the water quality. I know it's very important in making bagels, so I assume it's very important in this too.
Yes, the same really as bagels.
They're round. They have a hole.
They're round, got a hole in them, zero hardness. And then, so this is the water softening system, and then there are two pump systems you'll see on either side of this tank. This is the process water loop. So this is high pressure, chilled water going into the press room. And we can operate up to 150 pounds of pressure here. Right now, we're running at about 85 pounds of pressure. So this is the cooling water that shoots into the die or mold after the steam cycle.
Is this a chilling tank? What is this?
So yeah, this is our water supply, and water is actually mixing in this tank when the pumps are running. So we're getting warm water back from the condensate line, and then the chilled water, which is running from this set of pumps. You can see these water lines running out. There's a chiller in the parking lot. So chilled water coming back, mixing in this tank, and then there's a temperature control valve that will proportion the way the water system is mixing that water and sending it out into the press room. We send the high pressure water is going into the press room at 74 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's very, very important to maintain that temperature and the pressure because, as you know, operating those machines requires consistency of utilities.
Yes.
The steam's got to stay the same pressure and the same temperature. The water has to stay the same pressure, the same temperature, or the operator is chasing the utilities and you can't make it, you got stitching, you got non-fill, you got stitching, and there's no way to compensate for that if there's no consistency with utilities.
Right. I've heard a lot of people in the press room say pressing a good record is not that difficult. Pressing a lot of good records consistently is the really difficult part.
That would explain our experience exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what next?
So it was great to meet you guys.
Great to meet
Michael,
you too.
Thank you for
so
all
much.
the support. Really good to see you again.
You bet. Great to see you.
I'm sure I'll see you next year at Making Vinyl, if
You
not
will.
sooner.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
All right, so let's walk through the pressing room. I'm glad Mark was here for that because that's all the stuff that's above my head.
Yes.
I get it conceptually, but in terms of the detail that he's
Right. Well, you have other things to take up your time.
Yeah, like paying bills and selling and all that good
Now,
stuff.
who supplies you your?
So right now we're buying all of our PVC from Holland. It's the same PVC that we use at Palace. And as you know, I run Palace USA. We have 5 of our own presses at Palace. And for the last 10 years, we've been bringing sleeved vinyl back from Palace in Germany to here, where we assemble, package, and ship them. We're still going to be doing that. This isn't a either or. This is more of an and.
And so you still have good relationships with Palace. They don't see you as competition.
No, the market has changed so much and so fast over the last few years in terms of what people are looking for, what's important. So you're starting to see smaller runs, more color variations. Not as much 180 gram. I mean, that's still popular, but people are now looking at reissuing or releasing records on more of a standard weight. That's a little bit more affordable. So I started to see that about 3 or 4 years ago, and there's a way that they work in Europe, and there's a way that we need to work in the U.S. So I figured, listen, if we're going to remain viable into the future, I need to also create a product that's a little bit more affordable and also
That's key. That's key. I mean, affordability is important to get new people into this, and once they get in, once they're sucked in, they're finished. So then they can, spend more on expensive pressings later.
Exactly, and I think that what the U.S. needed was quality at scale. So instead of running a 2 or 4 press operation, which is still very hard and needed, this regional, what's happening with some of these smaller plants and having regional plants, that's what we need, because the small bands and small labels in these areas really got screwed over the last 10 years.
Yes.
So, we hope to be that small plant for our area, but also add capacity so we can also do larger runs and service the community that also needs more volume at consistent quality.
Right. So the difficulty in opening a small plant is you still need the infrastructure of the boilers and all the electronics, and,
Right.
and that's expensive.
Yeah.
And so once you have that, you need more than a few presses in order to keep the business viable.
Yeah, and because we have that existing business, we've been in business for 22 years, and now, as you can see, even though we only have 14 presses, we have 8 presses up now, and we'll have more, and I'll show you those.
So let's walk through these presses. So this is a Tulix Alpha that is just getting.
Yeah, so we just picked up this used Tulix Alpha extruder. So we're rebuilding that right now, and this one in particular is going to go with our SemiAutomatic machine, so we can make picture discs and splatters and all the funky color.
And where did this come from? Can you say?
This one came from England, actually, and so it looks like it's in really bad shape, but it does work, and we're putting a new screw in it. We just measured the barrel so we can get a screw that matches, and we have to put in some new motors and fans, but it does work. So.
Do you have to work in any way with the guys that own that new Phoenix Alpha company?
Yes, they're excellent.
Yeah.
And it's great that they're doing what they're doing, because not only are they making new presses, but they're also making parts for these old machines.
That's
right?
what I was. Yeah, that's what I wanted.
And
to know.
we actually had a problem recently where 2 of the screws, because these are old extruders, these are made in the 70s. There's 2 of the barrels that were slightly, or actually 4 of the barrels that were slightly out of whack, right? So we needed to order custom screws, but Phoenix Alpha had stock screws, that fit 2 of our other ones.
Oh.
So, we're putting brand new screws in all of these things, so the quality of the extruded material is
so
perfect.
let's talk about that for a second. Explain to people. So the pellets go into the extruder, and the screw is the thing that sort of moves the pellets into the heating
Exactly.
section,
Let
correct?
me show you the screw. We've got one pulled out of our 7-inch machine right here. So let's see where they put it. Here it is. So this is a screw. This is what sits in the extruder. So the extruder barrel kind of sits at an angle like this, and the PVC pellets, they drop in, and this thing is turning, and you have heating elements along the barrel that heat the PVC in stages. And then at the top, this is what pushes the PVC material into the cup that makes the puck or the biscuit.
Right.
So if this thing isn't perfectly sized to the barrel, what you get is you get backwash. So the PVC, instead of that heated PVC all moving up, it actually starts to fall or stay where it is. If the tolerance is, even if it's off by thousandths of an inch, it'll actually stay, and then that PVC gets heated, and then it goes into your puck eventually, and it creates all the bad sounds and the stuff that we all hate.
Yeah.
So these, it doesn't seem like it's a precision piece of the process, but it is. So
I couldn't make one of those, so to me it's very precision.
it has to be very. So luckily, now we have people. Like 4 or 5 years ago, it wasn't the case, but now if I need a pusher plate, or I need a transfer arm or a label arm, now we have people making those, and especially for the Tulix Alpha, with Phoenix Alpha being online, we can now improve all of our equipment and not have to worry about making parts, or worrying about not having backup parts. So it's great.
So this is a press that's not yet operational, obviously.
So we took it down to bare metal, We replaced all the valves, all the electric. We're putting PLCs on these, just like we put PLCs on the 12-inch presses. So this will be a modern 7-inch press once it's done. So
How is the singles market now? Is it still good?
you know, it's up and down. It
Yeah,
seems to
yeah.
be, sometimes we're, it comes in waves, it seems.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the new pressing plants that have come online. They're focusing on 12 inches because obviously that's where you can make some money.
Right.
We just inherited these because we bought all the 12-inch machines and these weren't much more expensive. So we said, I want to be as much to as many people as possible. Right. So if a client comes to me and says, I need 7 inches, 10 inches, and 12 inches, I want to be able to offer that. Yeah. I don't want them to have to go to another plant.
I got you.
I want to be able to do it. So
and it helps them a great degree also because they don't have to go to different places to do different things. Yeah.
So it just gives us an opportunity to, be everything to a client that needs all formats.
So here we have a row of presses. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 presses, and these are all operational now?
Yes, these are all Tulex Alpha machines. These were all made back in the 70s in Sweden. I think that I think you had some pictures on your site of what they used to look like.
Sure.
Now they are all brand new. So we took them down to bare metal, like I said. We put in all brand new electronics. Everything's brand new. We put a PLC control on them. So and we hired this kid out of college that was an electrical engineer, and the gentleman that refurbished our presses. They set up the PLC, but they set it up in a very inefficient manner. So, things just weren't working in tandem with the rest. So he downloaded the program, reprogrammed the whole PLC, and every day he's out here with his computer making minute, millisecond changes. So this whole ballet of, all these arms going back and forth work as efficiently as possible.
Okay, so this is the extruder here.
Yep.
Right, the working extruder.
So this is where the PVC go into. So you put the PVC in here, and then that drops it into the barrel, and that barrel is where the auger or the screw is, and basically pushes it up, heats it up, and pushes it in to this gizmo right here. Right here. This is where the puck is developed. So they got this pulled apart because they were doing some maintenance on it.
Right.
But this is the piece right here that creates the puck.
Right.
And once it develops, then there's an arm that's in the machine, or this piece actually pushes the puck into the middle of the die where the stampers are,
right,
into the center where it meets up with the labels. So there's label cups that carry the A side and the B side, and the arm picks those up with suction cups, brings it all into the center of the die, and then that's when the fun begins.
Yes, and that's all shown on my second DVD,
Exactly.
which is now out of print, but it will be available for streaming as soon as I can match the sound in the picture, which I'm working on.
Yeah, so these are the label cups here. So you add your labels there. These are the suction cups that pick up the labels, and then it brings it to the center of the machine.
So you have labels printed, and they come in here, and you have one of those heating things to keep them.
We have an oven, yep.
Yeah.
So they all get baked, and that it sucks all the moisture out of the paper. So when it goes into the pressing operation, you obviously have extreme pressure and heat. So if you just put a piece of paper in there, it's just going to crack and blister and fall apart. So by sucking all that moisture out and baking the labels, they perform a lot better in the press.
Now, what's happening? When I went to Palace to do the video, they had I think 8 or 10 presses in a row in a building. But they're not using that building anymore, or they moved everything?
They moved everything across the street.
Where the CD plant used to be, and there was a fire?
There was a fire that burned down that. So they rebuilt that facility from scratch. So they were able
Don't use the word scratch on this subject.
Exactly.
Ever.
From the beginning. So they were able to do what we did, which is take a shell, and optimize it the best they could.
Yeah.
So now they're doing the pressing and also they have a CD and a DVD machine
Yeah.
still, and they've scaled that operation down, but they do all of the manufacturing in that new building.
Right. Oh, that's great.
And they do plating in the old building.
Yeah, now you don't do plating here, though.
Not yet,
Yeah.
but we do have a room set aside
Ah.
for it, and we do, obviously, we can grow to 24 to 28 presses here.
Wow.
As you can see, we've pre-plumbed. We've got piping
Yeah.
basically in
Yeah.
place to grow. So our goal is to grow as we need to, and we'll need plating in house. Otherwise, it'll be a bear.
Yep. Okay.
So these are all the 2Lex Alpha presses.
Now, Mark didn't grow up with these, but he's adapted well to these.
Yeah, and in addition to Mark, he brought over a gentleman named Jonathan Garman who had been working on these 2Lex presses for the last 4 years at
Good.
QRP. So they both are, now they know these things very, very well. And, part of the PLC reprogramming that we're doing and some of the modifications that we're making to these presses right now is to kind of match the consistency and quality that they found works the best. So not only do we have someone that knew these presses that refurbished them, but we have people that have worked on these presses working for us now. So we're not starting from scratch. We got a lot.
And so what comes out of here is after the records are trimmed, the
yeah. So the flash,
flash. Yeah.
I always kind of explain it to people like a waffle. So you have a waffle iron, you put the batter in, you put a little bit more than you need, and it kind of squirts out the side.
Right.
Well, in this case, you have a trimmer, which is basically a really sharp blade right there.
Right.
And that trimmer cuts off the flash. It comes down here into a bucket. But we're actually going to do something a little different. Instead of having these stuff just fall into a bucket and have to manage all that stuff, we bought this tiny little granulator back here that we just got. And what's going to happen is that the flash will go in here, and it'll get ground up. And as you know, you generally want to use a little bit of regrind in your mixture because it acts as a stabilizer.
Right.
So and we've got these cyclones that will go on top of all of these extruders that will both suck PVC out of one of the big bags. So that virgin material, but then it also has a mixer on the top that takes some of this PVC, and so let's say this press just works great with 8% regrind. Well, it mixes it in the cyclone and then it drops it down into the extruder. So that way we're not having to manually crush all this stuff and then throw it into a granulator later. We can actually do it as it's as it's pressing.
Wow.
So yeah, we're trying to we kind of adopted this whole lean manufacturing methodology years ago, and we're still obviously I always kind of tell people like we're still just beginning, because you can every day it's continuous improvement.
Of course.
And so we're looking at all of this stuff as we're just starting. And I'll tell you one thing, next time you come there'll be an iPad right here, and that iPad will do things like basically will hook up to the PLC, and it'll keep track of the cycles, and it'll keep track of everything inside our database. So we have a FileMaker database that collects all the metrics.
Wow.
And so when someone comes and grabs a record to quality control, there's a button that says QC. And so it'll allow us to tell us at what point in the pressing, on press number 6 or whatever it is, it makes a log that says someone grabbed a record at record 50, at record 100,
wow.
record 150, and then when they go back and they quality control it, they can mark it as okay or not okay. If it's not okay, it sends a text message to the operator, and it says, hey, rather than them having to walk and maybe 6 more records get made in between the time that they hear it, and 6 records is a lot, right? So they can text and say, stop machine number 6 because there's something wrong with the quality control we got to figure out.
Wow.
So we're programming all these systems right now, And the beauty of it is, this operator will see exactly what their schedule is every day. They'll see exactly, what color changes or whatever they need. It'll tell you where to find the stampers that they need to put on there, and then they can make notes. So there's all kinds of settings on the machines, as well as what the humidity and the temperature is in the room. So if 2 years from now someone says, hey, I want to repress, we'll be able to go into our database and say, here was all the settings, this is what machine it was pressed on, and this was what the ambient temperature and humidity was on that day.
Wow.
And then they can set that and go back on to press and not have to figure it out again, because as you know, every stamp or every record's a little different.
That's right.
You can't just set it and forget it. Every record requires a
Well,
little
you
different.
can do that, but it doesn't do well. It doesn't
Right,
come out. We
and
know
we're
where
all
those are
about
pressed.
quality.
Yes, we
So
know where those are pressed.
quality is all consistency breeds quality. So the more consistent we are, the more we're thinking about all of the metrics and all of the data that goes into it, like the more we can replicate success. So you'll see that as we're walking through the plant. Everything has to be done right. Everything has to be done consistently. And we'll keep track of every minute detail. And it's not on paper. It's not somewhere you're going to lose it. It's captured right there on the iPad that goes into our FileMaker system, and it logs it forever. Right.
Now, over here we have these are the viral presses.
Yep. Yeah. So these are the viral warm tone automatic presses. Mark was kind of a doubter of these at first, but now they love them. And it really shows that the operator and the people working on the machines are more important than the machines themselves. Because even with all of this new technology, and it's a beautiful machine, it's got great PLC, they've rethought their extruder so you can purge it a lot easier. You can really set all the parameters on the extruder. I mean, it's a beautiful machine, but we were making good records on this on day 2.
Wow,
So
people don't understand how amazing that is.
I've heard from others that have set these machines up and also refurbished old machines that it took them 4 to 6 months before they could consistently send out good records.
Yeah.
On day 2, we were making good records.
Wow, this is Canadian, correct?
Yeah, so this is the Canadian press. So it's a great machine, and it's big. As you can see, the footprint of those machines is much smaller.
Yeah.
So this is almost twice the footprint, but it's really well thought out. But our operators, they have to monitor this machine just like they have to monitor the 2Lux Alphas. But again, they know how to set the temperature for the PVC, and when you have a little stitching or non-fill or something's not trimming right, they know those adjustments.
So
already.
are the people that work on this machine trained to work on this? Can they just swap out and work on that machine, or is it a different skill set that requires?
It's a different skill set. Those obviously are going to be a little bit different to run.
Right.
And this is a little bit more thought out. It's got 2 output spindles, and it's got the weighted plate system that actually you can program to say I want a plate every 3, 5, 6 records, whatever it is.
So there's the plates go in between records that drop onto that spindle.
Yep, and that's because as the records come off, they're still warm, and you need to keep them flat so they don't warp or dish.
Oh.
So once they get onto that spindle, we're constantly looking at them. In addition to listening to them, we're looking at them. And we're making sure that the flash or the trim is good. We're making sure that the labels are looking good. We're making sure that we're pulling them off and listening to them. We're looking at them for stitching and non-fill.
Right.
So it's not something that you can just run and walk away. You literally have to just sit there and
So I mean, this machine was basically engineered from the beginning, and it's not like they took older machines and copied it. This completely came from a new idea.
Yeah.
It had to be engineered from the beginning to the end. That's impressive.
The thing about pressing records is it's hard, but it's also super easy. What's complicated is getting all of these systems and processes to work automatically.
Yeah.
So we'll show you the SemiAutomatics machines in a second, but you have to feed this extruder it's got to push that puck perfectly into the center of the die. The label has to, basically put the labels perfectly in the center of the die. This thing comes down. This is the easiest thing.
Right, the hydraulic.
Hydraulics, that's easy. It goes up and down, big deal. But how long it stays, how long the steam goes in, how long the cycle of the cold water, and then picking that record up, putting it on the trimming station, setting up the trimmer, the blade, to make sure that not only does it trim properly, but it makes a nice edge.
Yeah.
I'm a real stickler with that. I don't like a rough edge. I like a nice smooth edge.
You don't like customers to buy a record and slice their fingers open?
Well, I think it's probably a good idea not to have that happen.
I agree. How many records can be pressed on this machine, like in an hour?
Well, the cycle time, depending on the weight, is between 25 and 28 seconds. We're pressing right now. I think our 180s are coming out at like 195, just because we're just we're kind of playing around with some stuff, and
Right.
and I think that cycle time is about 28. But you have to count for rejects too. So while you might be able to make 2 a minute, 2+ a minute, it's going to take us some time, and really understand how the PVC reacts to the extruders, and get our operators up and running to really have full potential of these machines.
That's a big nut.
It is, right?
That's a big nut.
It's a big ass nut.
Yeah.
So, and this is the first, and maybe first and maybe only. So we have basically, when we gave them the layout, we said, well, we don't want to walk around the machine to be able to operate it. So this is like a left and right hand operation thing. So one operator can basically go
that's
back
great.
and forth
Yeah.
and use the same. So this one was hard to set up because everything was reverse, and it was I think their first one. So.
So they had to build it in reverse?
They had to build it. I mean, everything else is the same except this and the way that all this contraption. So they had to put all this stuff on the other side. So
That's
all the
just-
rest of the systems are the same.
So it
but-
cost you more money to buy the machine this way? No?
No.
Oh, that's good. That's just saying it would cost you more, but then you'd make it up in efficiency, but it didn't cost you more, so you get the efficiency without paying more. That's
Exactly.
smart.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, labor is a huge cost when you're looking at pressing a record.
Yeah.
So if you can have one person run 2 machines, your price goes from 25 cents down to 12.5 cents per record in
Right.
labor. Let's just say.
Right.
Obviously, that's all over the map depending on how much
Right.
you
And then
pay
people are always saying, wait, 12 cents? Wait, how come I'm paying so much for a record? Okay, look around at what it takes.
I can hire people that don't know anything about records
Right.
and come in. They can make a record.
Yeah.
I can teach them how to make it in 3 days.
Yeah,
Are they going to be good? No, they're going to suck.
that's right.
So, we pay a lot of money, to have good people run these presses.
Yep.
And you get what you pay for. So
That's right.
if you want a piece of crap, don't come to us.
That's a quote. That's a direct quote. Okay, so now here we're seeing some old flash.
Yeah, so this is going to go away because we're going to have that.
That's right,
that
the
little-
system,
that
yep.
little system.
Yep.
So one thing that we did that's a little different is generally these 2Lex Alpha machines, they require a hydraulic pump, and when they sold these machines, they came with these little hydraulic pumps, each one. But we instead of rebuilding 8 pumps, we created this thing. So
The impressive thing about these Tulux Alpha presses is how compact they are.
they're very compact, they're very efficient, and if you want to set up a plant with a lot of machines, look at that.
Yeah, and not take up a lot of space. Look
Yeah.
at that. That reminds me of the line at Palace that I used to see when
Yeah.
I went down there. Yeah.
So we built this beast. This is basically just a big ass hydraulic pump. So we have 4 pumps on this procedure. This is basically the reservoir is filled with hydraulic oil, and so we can, depending on the load, we can set up, run 1 pump or 2 pumps or 3 pumps, or if 1 pump
And what
goes down.
What do these do exactly?
This is what feeds the hydraulic lines with oil And all the presses, when they go up and down to create that 130,
It's oil. It's
150
an oil
tons of
pressure, right?
Yeah, it's all oil.
Yeah.
So you
Wow.
need not only you could see we hired a company out of Canada called Bar Hydraulic to do all of our hydraulics. And the reason why we did it is, we needed accuracy and we needed a fail-safe system, because if any of this stuff blows up, you got
Oh,
thousands of gallons of oil
Right.
basically going all throughout the facility.
you wouldn't
So-
call it a gusher that you wanted.
So this is great, and it adds some redundancy as well. So if a pump goes down, we can we probably won't run all four at the same time, but
Right.
we can have a backup pump. So
Is this whole? This is a tank of oil. This.
Yeah.
Jeez.
it's all oil.
Oh.
And I wish I knew what this did, but it does something. Oh, this is air. Sorry,
So you can
vacuum.
Ah.
This is vacuum.
I see.
So this is creating vacuum. You see anything copper is air. So it goes to the. So not only do we have compressed air to blow stuff off, but we have this vacuum system too. That's to pick up the record. It's to pick up all of the labels, and we've got a redundant system here as well.
How long do those suction cups last that are on those machines that pick up the records?
I'm not sure the cycle count, but we have boxes of 500, at a time.
Yeah.
So you're, you replace them as if you're having a problem with suction.
Yeah.
You replace them right away, because the last thing you want is miscentered labels.
Yeah. Okay, let's keep moving.
All right, let's take a look at.
Because my battery life is starting to fade.
All right, let's go to.
It's too much to see.
So this is just our first oven. So that's where we put our
For the
labels
labels?
in.
Yep.
We have to get a much larger one, but we started small. We're going to grow. This is just compressed air. So we have a really, really efficient system. So that when this is running, usually when you're around compressed air, it's this large and loud motor.
yeah.
This thing's almost silent.
Wow.
And then it feeds that tank. And so we have enough compressed air at all times. All right, let's take a look at SemiAutomatics. So this one's about 90% done. This one's about 80% done. We have all the parts and pieces for them. This is anything that you're going to get that has a splatter, half and half, any of that funky color vinyl. That's what these machines will do.
And these are older machines refurbished?
Actually, these two presses were made from scratch. So they're
Really?
just 4-posters. Not hard to build, but hard to program and make.
Based on an existing design or literally?
Yeah, if you look inside that viral press, it's a 4-poster. The one over there, the 2Lex Alphas, those are 3-post. So this is just a real basic 4-post hydraulic press. Where the complexity comes in is you've got these book molds. So this thing basically opens up like this.
Right.
So you put your labels and your pucks in,
Right.
and then you hit these two buttons, and it goes back in, creates the pressure, and then it does all the cycle time. So your steam and your cold water and all that stuff comes out, you'll pick it up, and then we've got these little trimmers that you can put them on and
So
it'll
this is
trim.
very labor intensive.
Yeah, it requires you to put the puck in, and then we've got some extruders that we're building that we showed you, and we have 2 more extruders on the way. So the idea is that we'll have the ability to make, if someone wants half red, half black, you need to be able to have 2 extruders making 2 different colors.
Right.
So
And you could also do like hand press expensive things or like custom.
200 gram,
Yeah.
but also test pressings. Do you want to keep a automated press down, or do you want to put test presses over here?
Yeah,
right?
that makes a lot more sense.
So,
Yep.
it creates more efficiency.
Yeah.
Because we want those things to run as much as possible.
And so how many of these will you have?
Well, we've set up, there's another 4 that are going to go there, and then we're going to put another 4 there. So we're expecting at some, down the line to have 12 semi-automatics.
Wow.
This is our, these are the next 2. So we've got these presses. Now we just have to, build all. These aren't that hard to build, luckily. So
Yeah.
we can buy existing hydraulic, presses and then add all the bits and bobs onto them.
Wow.
This is just a makeshift little QC. We have another QC system in the other room, but this allows the operators to come over here on the fly and just make sure that they can listen to records and make sure that they're
Right.
totally dialed in.
And then this is what?
So this is going to be a
Center punch things?
Yeah, that forming. So we have like some forming dies and center punches and trimmers and all this stuff. But right now we're using RTI and Nitro for our stampers, so they
Right.
do all that stuff for us. They
Right.
have our mold, so everything comes to us formed. And the nice thing about that is that sometimes when you're forming a stamper, you'll break it. So rather than us break it and then have to ask for more, if they break it, they'll make a new one and
Right.
send it our way. So
And this is all infrastructure for more presses.
yep. So instead of running all brand new pipes later, we went ahead and went through the expense of putting all this stuff in now because we intend to grow.
Yep.
We intend to be the last pressing plant, so rather than this is very expensive to run these trucks.
I'm
So
sure.
We figured let's get them in. From a cash flow standpoint, not the greatest idea, but
None of this is a great idea. For
none of
cash
this. This is the stupidest thing I could have done. I had such a good life in this. But no, I mean we're passionate
This is
about
so
what we
great.
do.
This is the greatest. I have to bring my 12-year-old protege here to.
Yeah.
Got to bring him here.
But I never thought I'd own a scissor lift. Like
right.
all of a sudden, like I own all this stuff, and it's
It's a
it's-
craft industry.
It
Like-
is.
Like making bourbon,
Yeah.
all these different.
People don't realize how many hands, gloved hands, are on a record. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they think that it's like people were spoiled by the CD and DVD industry. I mean, robots making and quality controlling product.
Yeah.
Like this is all humans touching, listening, looking, assembling.
Analog.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like our hearts. It's like us.
Yeah.
Everyone is.
So,
part of
and this
process.
is a chipper.
Yeah, someone sent that to us, and they said if you can use it, great. It doesn't work, sending it back.
Wow.
So we have that's the one thing that's coming in the next couple weeks is we've got a granulator and a center punch machine. So, we throw away a lot of records right now. A
Yep.
lot of records that I think some places might actually send out, but we're a little picky. So when you have those records, you can punch the center label out because you don't want that paper
Right.
in the PVC.
Right.
You punch out the center and then you regrind that and you can use it as a regrind.
Yep.
So once we clean out some of these other spaces, I'll show you all this stuff's going away. This is like more hydraulic oil. These are accumulators, so the all the hydraulic oil accumulates in these and creates the pressure. So if you didn't have this, you would have drop-offs. And what we've done throughout the facility is everything has redundancy, everything has controls, because we don't want inconsistency with pressure, temperature, or anything, because again, we want consistency. Consistency breeds quality.
Yep. Now, a press like this is in early stages of redevelopment. How long will it take to complete, to rebuild and get something online like this?
These
A
we're
year?
hoping to have done by January. All
Oh.
the hard work has
Oh,
been
wow.
done. We just need to put all the fine details on them.
Wow.
So, these, if you saw these before, these were like the old, old green.
Yeah.
They had, spaghetti wires going all over the place. All of that stuff is, everything's been re-chromed, everything's been redone. So, these are I'd say about 85 to 90% done.
Wow.
We just need to, put together extruders. We need to, create the PLC. We've already got the programming done. We just need to put them together. But our focus right now is just getting the 12-inch machines and the SemiAutomatics machines up.
Yep.
And then after that, 7 inches will be last.
And what is this?
This is a bandsaw. So it allows us, you'll see, we as part of this lean manufacturing, we build a lot of our material handling stuff with this stuff called flex pipe. And instead of building stuff with wood or welding, you can actually put it together like Tinker Toys. It allows us to prototype and also get things into the, and you'll see some of it out there, but we can build tables, we can build vinyl carts, we can build all kinds of stuff.
Oh, wow.
I used to, you see these big things right here? So I build all this stuff in my wood shop, and it takes fucking forever. And once you build it, you can't change it, right? But
And
with
then
this-
IKEA steals it and makes cabinets
Exactly.
out of it. Yeah, see.
But yeah, so this is how we're going to repurpose all these things, and these are now going to be where we store all of our plates and everything. We're going to change the wheels, and these will basically be like card files in a library. So these will be underneath our pallet racks, and you'll basically, it'll say cart, blah, blah, blah. You'll be able to pull it out and find small parts.
Right.
So efficiency in terms of the way that we store things and, finding things in inventory will be a lot easier using these.
Now, is there any black vinyl here? I mean, all I'm seeing
Yeah,
is...
so this is just a sample of some
Okay.
of the colors. We've got a bunch of stuff. We have an external warehouse as well. So when we bring
Diversity, Michael, diversity.
yeah,
diversity. Oh, I'm sorry.
diversity. So this is how the black PVC comes in, and
okay.
this stuff is made specifically for. They have different black compound, but they made this specifically to work well with the 2Lex Alpha machines.
Interesting.
So this is the same PVC that we use at Palace.
Recordcompounds.com. And they're where'd you say these?
They're in Holland.
Holland, okay.
So you saw that. I'm going to show you some messy parts. We've got a workshop. We just actually, Kmart went out of business recently down the street, so we just bought all these like roller carts for $10 a piece. So we've got all these things that we just brought in, racking and all kinds of good stuff from the fine folks at Kmart that went out of business. I do need to show you one thing.
Okay, and then Sears will follow, and you'll get even more stuff.
Exactly. Check this thing out. Where's my light? Can you flip that light right there? All right, so this is the kind of stuff that we're thinking about, that we get excited about. So this is that flex pipe that I was telling you about. So we're prototyping this right now. When records come off the shrink wrap line, right now we have a system that catches them, and then you have to take them and wait, and we manually rotate.
Right.
This thing will automatically, the records come in, there's little sensors here that trigger, and when this thing is full, it counts how many records go in here, so we can program it and say, each bin I want either 15 or 25 or whatever is going to fit in the box. And then this thing automatically, with this motor, rotates to the next station. So what that does is two things. One, it allows the operator a little bit of latency so they don't have to keep up with the records coming off the shrink wrapper.
Right.
But it also allows the records that are shrink wrapped to kind of settle, because as you know, like some air gets trapped in there.
Yep.
So it allows it to settle. By the time it goes into the boxing station, all of the air will be out of the package, and the count will be exactly what the count should be to go in the box.
We showed this when we visited your older plant. We showed how all that happens. People just don't understand the logistics involved in getting records
It's crazy.
packaged and shrink wrapped and then packaged again and shipped.
I mean, that's an art in itself.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is a mess now because of Kmart, but you can see some of the flex pipe. We've got a whole flex pipe station back there.
Yep.
And everything just kind of goes together with joints, and it's just really cool. So this is our next project, is getting this thing all straightened out, but just...
And so where's the assembly? Where's that assembly line that used to be?
Let's go take a look.
Okay.
See, we're putting together these record carriers right now. So, we're putting the little feet on. We got the little handles.
Got you.
I think we're pretty handy around here. We like coming up with new stuff. So that's just storage right now, but that's 3,000 square feet. That's going to be our plating lab eventually.
Yep.
And then that room in there is just storage, but it's going to be our PVC room because we want to preheat the PVC before it goes into the press operation. Because you don't want to take cold PVC and put it in there.
Got ya.
So we're going to heat that up to like 80 degrees and then bring it in there.
Got you.
All right, let's take a look at assembly. We got these big ass fans, so this whole place stays pretty comfortable. It pulls heat down from the ceiling, and it also pushes air in the wintertime or summertime. So we don't have, this always is temperate. We don't have air conditioning back here. It all stays about mid 70s all year long because of those things. All right, so most people when they assemble records, they have them on a table. They got to move a lot of stuff. What we do differently is we have records. You take them. So that person will have 5 boxes of records. All they have to do is grab them, put them in the jacket. They don't have to go find records. They don't have to do anything. And then when they're done putting the records in the jackets, they bring them down this conveyor right here.
And it comes back the other way.
Comes back the other way. So,
And this is you devised all of this,
yeah,
right?
I did.
You did,
all this stuff.
No one else has done this.
But well, the problem was Led Zeppelin happened,
Yeah.
and it was just chaos. All of a sudden, we thought, after Record Store Day, whenever that year was, it would slow down, and then it just got busier and busier, and we couldn't keep up. And we were using all kinds of inefficient methods of assembly. So now, and I went down there for 2 weeks, and I was like, we have to figure this out.
Down where?
Down into the assembly area.
Oh,
so
I see.
I quit my job up in the office. I went down, and I just videotaped everyone doing all the movements, and I was like, and I did this work, and I was doing like 25,000 steps on my step thing, and I was like sweating, and I lost a bunch of weight in 2 weeks, and I was like, fuck that, I can't do this anymore. So now what we do is we put all of the jackets go right here, so it ends up right at the table height.
Right.
We get like records, inserts, download cards, they all do this. And the person never has to wait because all you have to have is one person on this side to make sure all the lanes are filled. So they make sure all the components are filled, they make sure the jackets are filled, and then when the records come out, they come down here to the end, and then we put them on these skateboards, which I'll show you in just a second.
Oh, that's right. I remember that from the,
But check this out. This is awesome. So when the records come back down, there's a sensor right here. Each lane has someone assigned to it. So when we assemble a record, if we're doing 5,000 records, I can tell you within 5 to 10 minutes how long it's going to take, and I can monitor everyone that's assembling something down to the minute. So if you tell me, hey, how long is it going to take to assemble this Nirvana Nevermind? Well, I know through the metrics that we've been keeping for the last 7 years how long it takes to do a single jacket, direct to board, 180 gram with an insert. I can tell you how long that's going to take within a few minutes.
Yeah.
And we do that by keeping track of all these metrics. All of these sensors then feed into our database.
So that record's like classical music at this point. I mean, that
Isn't that
thing
crazy?
is always going to be in print. It's always going to be in
We call
print.
it classic alternative now or something like that.
Whatever you call it, it's reached how many generations down from when it was first made?
Crazy.
It's great.
It
It's
is.
fantastic.
So yeah, so all of these lanes, we can. All of this stuff is, movable. So if we have a 2 LP set, these things might change. So we can put these either down here or up here, depending on how much material we want to send back or come back.
So
here.
when a new job comes, you set this whole line up for the particular job. So this is like lockers for Nirvana lockers, and there's in utero lockers, and there's 9 Inch Nails lockers.
Yep. So this are all the vinyl that right now is coming in from Europe.
Yeah.
And we're assembling here. So as I said before, this isn't an either or. This is an and. So we'll be still bringing records from overseas. We'll make records here. But the flow of the assembly and the finishing is all the same.
Okay.
So as the records are completed, they go into the same white bins. They come down here, and we might have 4 or 5 different projects being assembled, and then we'll have these skateboards that these crates just fit right on top of. So when we move this over to the finishing, everything's on wheels. You'll see that almost everything is on wheels in this place because last week when we were doing the Metallica box set, all of this stuff was over here because our assembly line was so long, and we wanted to feed those boxes right into the shrink wrapper that we didn't want to. We counted the steps. Everything's counted. You'll see also like these little kick scooters. we count how many steps. It takes a minute and a half to go from the loading dock back to here if you walk, and it takes 40 seconds on a scooter. So if you do that 20 times a day, I can calculate how much money it costs to save steps. So
How many projects can you work on simultaneously?
back here, probably, I think the most that we've had is 15 titles.
Some
But-
take longer than others to complete.
But we can do, tens of thousands of records of assembly a day. So we can do a lot more assembly than we can do pressing. So let's show you, once it goes from here and you have completed records in the jackets, ready to be shrink wrapped or bagged, I'll show you what we do at that point. Bring everything over here. And we have 3 finishing lines. We've got 2 shrink wrap lines, and we've got a bagging line. So I'll show you, this is probably this is the fastest one, so I'll show you this one. So you stack your record jackets in here, and it's a feeding system that feeds it into this conveyor right here. And the way that this conveyor is set up is it's got these little cleats, so it spaces the records out just perfectly. And then it goes into the shrink wrap right there, creates the bag, and then goes into the blade where it separates it.
Now, we know that record presses were disassembled and scrapped when the vinyl era, quote unquote, ended. How much of this infrastructure like this existed in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, and in the 80s all got scrapped?
This is actually, this can be used in just about any industry.
Oh, okay.
We've made some modifications to it so it works really well, because we're normally shrink wrapping a very thin item, and it's hard to do that well.
Yeah.
Because you don't want the seam to come on the front, you don't want the seam to be on the spine.
All right.
So it's what we're trying to do is actually very, very difficult. So we've made a lot of modifications as to how much perforation that's in our film. The way that we can add perforations, because obviously you want that bag to, you don't want it to expand and contract too much, because then it gets wrinkly. And I've been in a band, or I've been, run record labels, I've been in distribution, I've run a record store. So I know how all of this stuff affects all the chain, right?
Yep.
The entire supply chain. So we want to make the best shrink wrap record in the world, because we know that record's going to sell, and that's good for our clients.
Yeah.
So we spent a lot of time, getting this right. So this thing, when it's running, can run about 48 parts a minute, which is pretty fast.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that we do, like because we want to position it so there's no seam on the spine. We have to turn the record when it comes over here. So you can buy a $2,000 turner, or you can take some wire and do it for 5 cents. So basically, we have a bunch of these things. So sometimes people will want us to put a marketing sticker on crooked. Let's say they want a diamond.
Yeah.
And we print that on a square, and then we can turn it so it goes through the sticker machine crooked. And so sometimes you'll see these things like on all the sides, so you'll see the record changing direction. So right now what happens is we have a marketing sticker machine right here. We've got several of these, so if one record takes 2, we can bring another sticker machine over here and put 2 stickers on it.
And you've also got a way to number records with
Yep.
stamp or
We have a foil machine, which I can show you. But this is that manual version of what we have. We're building automated right now. So as the records, and we kind of built this just to see what we wanted to do with automation. So the records come down, they fall here, and then you basically turn it, and and then at that point, these records have been sitting for a little bit, so the air's out. So I would normally be on the other side here, because the operator's on this side. But
Okay, it looks like you made this out of a wire spool from like the phone company or something.
we actually used to be neighbors at our old place with a company called Rexel, which just sells cable and
Yeah.
electrical
That's so
supply.
cool.
So we basically went into the trash and got a spool, and
love it.
and then we put some wheels that we no longer use on there just so it turned. But this was literally just something that we wanted to prototype. and just get the dimensions and get everything right before we, invested a bunch of money
Yeah,
into
so efficiency
automation.
is really important in all of this to make money, to be.
Well, it's not only that, but everything weighs a lot, right? So
Yeah.
you have people picking up boxes all day, and it wears them out.
Yeah,
So if we want to burn people out, and you want talent to leave, you be inefficient.
Yeah.
Because people get burned out. It's heavy, it's hard work,
Yep.
and it's literally blood, sweat, and tears. People bleed here every day. You know what I mean? And we try to minimize that, but it's just the nature of the business. So
Yep.
if we make things easier, people are going to stay longer, and you have that institutional knowledge that stays at your company longer. So when you get a box that's always perfect, because once we do this, we put it in a box, and then we've got a weigh station right here. So every box that goes out gets weighed, right? So before we when we do the first, let's say a box takes 25 pieces. We'll take that and we'll weigh the box, we'll weigh a pad, 25 pieces in another pad, and we put it on here, and it weigh counts it. So it tells you how many units are inside that box. So if there's one missing, it beeps,
Wow.
right? So that way, we're counting them as we're putting them in the boxes. That's count number one. And then we're weight counting that count number two. So when it says over here that I just put 15 or 25 in a box, there's 15 or 25 in a box. Because this thing right here is an inkjet printer. It prints on the side of that carton right there. Yeah, I'll show you. So you can see that this is the Mercury program, catalog number, barcode, 15 count. It tells you what number box. So this is box number 3. It's done on November 1st, 2018 at 12:22 and 28 seconds, and that's the job number. So I can now tell you how many boxes went through there. I can tell you what time and what date, and then I can look up who did it. So if there's a mistake, we can go and retrain people.
Yeah.
But this is, again, just adding all of this simplicity and making sure that, people have redundancy and quality control. It allows, the distributors and the stores to know when they get something from us, it's going to be right.
Yeah.
So
Because if something goes through and it's not right, the amount of time and energy it takes to.
it's all about time.
Yeah.
Our biggest expense is labor. We pay people well. We're in D.C. I mean, this is the dumbest place to set up a pressing plant, but this is where I live, so it is what it is. So if it takes me an hour to go figure out what happened with a box,
Yeah.
I just spent $20-30. It doesn't
Yeah,
make any sense.
right.
Instead, you spend $1,000 on a weigh counter, and you train people really well, and then none of that stuff happens. Real quick, you asked about foil numbering. Let me show you how we do that. This is upside down, but I built this little station. It's kind of cool. See, it's even got a hook for the chair, but we do this manually, unfortunately, but it works pretty well. So you sit in your chair. This thing is on a slider. Comes out.
It's a hot stamper machine.
It's literally a hot stamper. So this thing comes out, so you can put a chair and you sit in here,
What do
and
you
then
do?
you got little guides here,
Yeah.
and you put the jacket exactly where it needs to be, and then we have a foot controller.
You put a record
Right
jacket
here.
in there?
Yep, a jacket, an insert, whatever. So and you stomp on it, and it comes down and it stamps it.
Oh.
So, and then we've got another system that, you put a bunch of jackets here, and then when they're done, you put them over there. And then we've got little rules and everything, so everything is like nice and.
And this is all your infrastructure that
Yeah.
you devised.
No, I mean, obviously with what we're doing, we're creating museum pieces. So
Yeah.
if someone is building this for another industry, they don't care. They don't, maybe, the jacket, if it gets bent, it's an unusable jacket, right? So we need to do everything special, so when the client gets it, it's perfecto.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to show you. I think you'll be excited about this one, but let me just finish this over here. So we have these flexible conveyors. So if I'm doing this, I can bring this over here. You put a pallet on here, and this is what shrink wraps the pallet. So we're really, really proud of our pallets. Like we build them super bomb-proof, and hopefully I've got something over in the warehouse.
I hand shrink wrapped a pallet of 500 jackets in my house.
The worst thing ever, right? You get dizzy.
I hope it survives.
Yeah.
I had to sign 500 records, and
I saw that.
and you probably looked at that and said, "Oh my God, that's never going to make it to Kansas."
I didn't see the pallet. I just saw the.
I'll show you a picture, and then later I'll show you a picture. You can tell me what the odds are that it's going to make it, because if anybody could tell me, it would be you.
All right. Well, what we do is we have our supplier cut all of our corner board exactly to size, because our boxes are the same size.
Right.
So rather than having long pieces that we have to cut down, efficiency, I just take this, and I know that I could corner board the whole thing very quickly. And then we've got this awesome tool. So we strap all of our pallets with this green stuff, and we got this expensive tool that you put this strap, and you basically put it in this machine here. Let me see if I can get it. Let me see if I can get this to work.
Don't chop a finger off, okay?
I know, right? Well, anyway, what you do is you basically put this strap through here, and this piece right there melts the plastic
Oh my God.
together. So it cinches the whole thing up and melts it in one swoop. So you don't have to like use clamps and the old-fashioned way.
So you love all this stuff,
I
though.
love
On
this
top of everything, you love all this shit that comes
if
together.
I can not be in my office and I could just be back here like tinkering, like
Yeah.
this is my passion. Like I love like figuring out like new and more efficient ways of doing everything. So
That's so great.
so that's basically we have another shrink wrapper here that works the same way, but it's a little slower. But for the audiophiles, let's just talk about poly bags.
Yeah.
You guys love poly bags, right? So the thing I hate about buying a record in these perforated poly bags, this is a little CD inserter. We use this for the Metallica job. But what we don't like about these bags is that when you buy them, the perforation's on the side a lot of times.
Right.
Why? You got the marketing sticker on top, and then when you want to rebag it, the sticker's crooked. That's so stupid, right? So what we do is we created our own little system. So you put your records here, you put them in the bag like this, and the record goes onto the conveyor like this, right? So obviously, perforations on top.
Right.
You can see that this says audiophile quality, Palace.
Right.
The sticker gets put on right where it should be.
Right.
So it comes down here, again, perforation on top, turns, right? And then it drops over here. So this thing opens up, and this drops like this, and then it gets sealed right here. So again, you have this perforation at the top, and the record, the bottom, gets sealed right there. And then it goes up the little conveyor here and drops in here. And that way you get an audiophile record with the perforation on top. And this is a thick plastic, not that thin crap that some people use.
Right.
Because obviously they need to last in retail and shipping and stuff. So it's a lot thicker. And then we have the same boxing setup here. So we have the weigh counter and we got the whole thing. So this goes a lot slower because obviously your hand is putting them in. If we have a big job, we can actually increase the conveyor length,
Right.
and we can put another station right there. So that's what we do with poly bags. It's a little different, and we hope that. I mean, these guys are geniuses too, right? So when this seals, it shoots out the little like this. This is what basically gets shot out.
Right.
And we want to capture that. We don't want it to just blow all over the place. So
Right.
this looks like, kind of garbage, but what it does is it allows the air to go through. So this thing goes here and drops as opposed to go and like blowing up in the air. So there's little things like this that, you don't think of, but
No, I don't think of.
you test until all of this stuff works.
And
then
is that like a computer controlled where the pops in the cardboard went, or you just did that?
they just punched a bunch of holes in it and said, I hope the air goes through, because, but yeah, as you can see, we think about all this stuff,
Yeah.
like, obsessively. Let me just show you the flex pipe, and then we'll go in the warehouse. So this is that flex pipe that I was talking about. So we needed a way to so these are those poly bags. So we can load up poly bags here, and they go right to the thing. We don't have to go and pick them up, because they weigh a lot. You know, we don't want people throwing it out their back. So, someone will come here, load these up before a job, and then you got all your poly bags right there. And then over here, another little thing that we put together is, depending on what's going on during the week, we can say, hey, the marketing stickers for this job is, bin, row 1, bin 2, or whatever, and then they know it's right there. So, all of this stuff is just kind of stuff that we kind of came up with to make life easier. So, and then these are all of our cardboard boxes. They're all color coded depending on what they are.
Yep.
And we've got little signs that say, pink or red is pads, and blue is this.
Yep.
So all of our supplies are right here, and
It's a lot less cramped here than it was in your last.
I know,
Yeah.
it's so much easier to get around.
Yeah.
So that room I'm not going to show you because again it's storage, but we thought maybe we can put a cutting studio in at some point. So we built that out, and right now it's just going to be storage. And we do some assembly in there when we have to keep things separated. Like we have to keep the numbers if they're foil numbered, all isolated. We don't want it to get mixed up. So we'll do some stuff in there.
Okay.
Well, let's go in the warehouse, and then we'll show you the offices, and then we'll be done.
Yeah, and you were going to set up a listening room. Is that set up yet?
Well, we're getting there. Actually, I just saw VPI at Cap Audio Fest.
Yeah.
Harry's setting up our Ortofon was nice enough to send us some cartridges.
Oh, good.
So he's setting up, we have 2 primes. So he's setting up 2 cartridges for us. This is probably the least fun part of our, you gotta get the scooters too.
Yeah.
This is like the brain of the operation.
Yeah.
So all of our databases and cloud servers and stuff like that, because we host download cards. And,
Oh, you do? Oh.
And then we have, the other thing is we have, 60 security cameras all around. So we use those not only to make sure that people aren't, stealing anything, but which they don't, luckily. But we can also use it as game film. So I can go, hey, what are they doing on this line? And we can watch it without having to sit there. And we can watch people movement, and then go, hey, what if we did this? So we've got cameras above where they actually assemble and in the press room and all that stuff.
Yep.
Also, all of our lights they're on sensors, so when you leave the room, they turn off in 15 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, there's like many miles of data cable. And I gotta give a shout out to my friend at NPI, and he owns a company that supplies data warehouses, Amazon and all these. Anytime you're building a building and you're running all this stuff. He sells it all, and he supplied all of the cables, all of the track. Saved us a lot of money.
I'm sure.
So this is the warehouse. This is where we lose all of our money because we can't really charge to do this, but we obviously have to receive and move inventory. So this is all jackets, inserts, download cards, marketing stickers. Anything that's going to go into a record is stored here. And as you can see, everything is numbered. So we have an inventory system that allows us. These are double racks. So there's 2 pallets, and we've got a forklift over there that can reach out. And that's why we have these right here, because the forklift have to actually drive underneath that in order to double reach. But it saves us a bunch of space and allows us to put a lot more pallets in. So everything that gets put into inventory has a pallet location. So
Who did this reissue?
That is a org job.
Is that new coming?
No,
Or did I miss that one?
I think that's an old one.
Oh, I missed it.
1082.
And that's not stamped the way they used to do it, because that's...
No, that's just printed on there. So inventory control is really important. Like if you come back to us in a year and you want to repress and we have stored your parts, we need to be able to find them. We don't want to go, oh crap, we lost them and have to pay.
These are 180s, right? Or these?
Yeah, that would be...
Yeah.
That I've got. Those were great. I don't know what they're going to
This one I have.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. I have a couple of those. Can't remember.
Led Zeppelin 1, Deluxe Audio. I'll be the judge of that. Okay, so... Wow.
Let me
Look
show
at
you
this.
our pallets.
Yeah.
This is a nerd time, but I just want your viewers and vinyl customers to know how we build our pallets, because it's actually a point of pride, because you can go through this whole process of pressing a record, assembling a record, doing all the things that you need to do, and truck drivers don't give a shit about your records.
I know.
So,
Or hi-fi equipment when it shows up with a big pallet thing hole in it.
yeah, exactly. So, so this is what our pallets look like when they leave. They're super tight. They've got corner guards on them. They got this strapping that I was telling you about.
Yep.
So when this thing, if the guy's drunk and he takes a pretty harsh turn, this thing will turn over, but it won't spill boxes all over the place.
My pallet does not look anything like this.
It probably looks maybe something like this.
Yeah, something like that. Probably not as tight either.
Right. So
but I did the best I could.
as you can
know.
see, you got to shrink wrap it to the pallet.
Yeah, I didn't do such a good job. I didn't do that. How could I do that? I don't have a
Right.
shrink wrapper.
So yeah, it's an art. It's an art. And
Yeah.
then in addition to that, we put a little witch hat on here that says "Do not double stack."
Yeah.
And everything that leaves our facility, we take a picture of it, because when a trucking company, like, we can immediately tell if someone has repalletized our records.
Yeah, of course.
Because as you
They
can
don't do
see,
that.
right? So the witch hat's on there, and then we can send them a picture. This is what the pallet
this
looked
weigh?
like. Good question.
That's with records in it.
That's a box set, so that's I'm not sure, but generally you're looking at, I don't know, 1,200 pounds.
So who's selling these? Which label are these?
This is all Warner Music Group.
So that's the remaster.
So these are the digitized ones.
Yeah, those are the Jimmy Page digitized remasters.
And you said they sound horrible, right?
They're not great. No, they're not great. It's too bad.
Well, the pressing I think sounds good.
I'm sure pressing is good, but did you press those here?
These are all
pallets?
pallets.
Yeah. But I'm sure the pressings are good, but the mastering was not so good.
But that's exactly. I mean, so this is like a lot of people don't really take this into account. But
They take nothing into account, Eric. They don't, and it's not their faults. They just don't. People cannot imagine all this goes.
Yeah, I mean, I will tell you, anyone that we give a tour to who's into records, their jaw drops because they just
Yeah.
have no concept of what goes into it,
Wow.
and I can't blame them.
No. It's the same with manufacturing the hi-fi gear also, what goes
Yep.
into manufacturing it. It's finished and it looks like it's done, and so it just comes out someplace magically.
Exactly.
No, that's why it's important to do this and show people. And then when they bitch about the price of a record, they get to see what's involved. They don't consider any of this. They just see, it's a piece of plastic, it costs 10 cents, or
Right.
5 cents, or 2 cents.
So yeah, so this is just all stuff that's going to be going out on Monday.
Much better to ship it now than in July.
Exactly. So yeah, this is the least sexy part of the whole part. But in our old place, we didn't have loading docks, so now we have loading docks. So we don't have to drive the.
That's right, you
forklift
did. That's
outside
right, you
and
didn't
pull
have a
stuff
load.
out.
That's right, you did not have a loading dock.
So
And what
now
was this before? This was.
This had been empty for quite a while, but we've heard it was a building that sorted and distributed newspapers.
Oh.
The Washington Post building is just a couple miles away, so we have a feeling that it was probably something to do with
In the day.
Washington Post
Yep.
or something to do with that. But there's tracks embedded in the concrete that at some point we will fix, but gotta start with the pressing plant.
Yes.
We're gonna redo all of our concrete. I mean, the one awesome thing about the Third Man facility is their floors are fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would die for those.
And where is, you mean their facility in Detroit? You mean
Yeah.
the pressing plant? Or-
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
their floors probably cost as much as our build out.
Wow.
They're beautiful, and they
Yeah.
cost a lot of money. And
It's a work of art. Yeah, it's a work of art there.
It
It's a display facility as much as anything.
but it's yeah. So you know, we have these tracks in here. We're gonna get rid of all this and patch it up. But you know, yeah. So let's show you the offices. How's that?
Okay. And then that's it. That's
I
everything.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll see our our in progress listening room. Which
I don't want to run out of film here, you know.
all right. Well, we'll go there first.
Yeah.
So when it's cold in here, we've got this awesome, like those Star Wars doors.
Yeah.
Comes down. It's like a vinyl door, and it's all on sensors, so it can tell when someone's approaching and goes.
That's
up
good.
and down.
They don't get sliced in half. That's an important thing.
So we have a train track right there, which unfortunately it would be great if we could like ship via train.
Yeah.
Wow, this is nice.
So we have a conference room here. I built this table because I don't have anything else to do. So this is, we do a lot of meetings. This is charting out our system, a lot of whiteboarding. That's kind of just our little poster
Sure.
on how the process works. From audio, you cut a lacquer. From the lacquer, you make a father. You make a mother from the father. You make stampers from the mother. And then you got your puck, turned into a record. And then if you need more of those, you go here. When that thing breaks, you go back here, you make another one, and you keep on doing it. Originally, we had all these shipping containers in the parking lot of our old space, and we wanted to build our office out of these old shipping containers, but it turned out to be more expensive than just building it, so we brought some shipping container material, just to kind of give it a nice vibe.
Nice industrial vibe.
So eventually there'll be graphics up there, there'll be graphics on the walls, make it kind of cool.
Can't go wrong with record jackets.
Right, exactly.
That's
So
the whole point.
We put these actually on Velcro so we can take them off real easy and pop new ones on, refresh it. So we have a couple, more spaces where, everyone's got a laptop so they can bring it into these spaces and have some privacy. As you know, I co-founded Vinyl Style.
Yep.
So this is really all the supplies that someone that's just getting into vinyl needs. So
Yep.
we have brushes and all that stuff. And here's a listening room that we're putting together. So eventually, we'll have all the sound treatment up. We'll get some nice speakers in here. We're going to have, some more cabinets in the back for records, and then we'll have a couple different, record cleaning systems set up. The fine folks at Transparent gave us a bunch of cables.
That's nice.
So we'll have, so we got power and interconnects from Transparent. VPI gave us several turntables, so we've got a prime. Harry's actually mounting that cartridge today, I think. So I'm gonna go pick that up. We've got the ADS system for the speed control, and then we are finding someone to give us an amp to use. So what we hope to have is 2 turntables in here and several sets of speakers, so people can kind of come in here and listen to good, better, best.
Yep.
And we have artists that come through here.
Great.
And a lot of people, they've never actually heard a hi-fi system.
That's right.
Right.
That was at Making Vinyl, the same thing. The guy that founded Record Store Day, Michael Kurtz, was there, and we had a really good system set up with Macintosh and Sonus Faber, and played him Axis Bold as Love on the one that Chad's doing.
People.
And I
lose
could tell
their
he'd
shit.
never heard that record before, like
Right.
we heard it there.
Got These are just from my house, the little BMWs I've had for a long time. But we're talking with some folks to bring in some demo units, and
Yeah.
we're going to have a lot of community events. So
Great.
before Black Friday, we have a record store that we really like. They're going to bring their customers, and we're going to play a bunch of records that are going to come out on Black Friday.
That is awesome.
And we're hoping to do that on a monthly basis. There's the DC Hi-Fi group that wants to come in here and do tours, and I'll show you the space that we have in the back that we can actually bring some hi-fi gear back here and actually blow it out and make it more of a big event. So this is our break room, but we can kind of
It's so spacious. I mean, you've taken the space and just opened it up and give people. It's just.
let me take the lights on. So yeah, so we built this thing so if we have an event, we can blow this out and extend this out. So you can have bands play right there. We can set up, a hi-fi system right there, and pull the tables out, and put a bunch of chairs in here. So we kind of, this is all about community. It's all about bringing people and having them understand what it takes to press a good record and what the possibilities are in terms of playback. So with the listening room and some events that we can have in here, people that don't know, they think, well, records are kind of cool, but they actually sound fucking great, right?
Yeah.
So, show them what's possible, and then they can be the next audiophile kind of.
Okay, now the most important thing is you have to tell my wife how your dog is.
I have 2 dogs now. They're great. So
And what are they?
Bernese Mountain Dogs.
Okay, that's the important
So we
thing.
had Jack, who lived to 12, and then we said we're not going to have dogs for a while because it was rough the last couple of years.
Yeah.
But then, like 2 months later, we got a call, and we have a 2-year-old girl that needs to be adopted, so we adopted her. And then we thought we were all set, and then we got a call like 6 months later. We got another boy, and so he's been with us for a year, and now they're like best friends.
That's great.
They're great.
Yeah.
So they come into work sometimes and run around. And
Wow, you got to take a picture of the dogs that work here and send it to me.
I will for sure. I was gonna bring them today, but I was a bit.
You got enough to do.
Yeah.
Great.
So so this is Furnace.
Well, Eric, thank you so much. It's just great to come here, and I think it's almost a year since I was here.
Yeah.
And see such tremendous progress, and see all of these empty spaces that you explained, and this dream that you had, and here it is. And it's fantastic.
Well, thank
so
you for supporting us,
congratulations.
and
you bet.
I hope that we can be that pressing plant that your customers will will like, and they'll look for our name when it says it on the sticker and buy it with confidence. So that's our goal.